What is up, guys, and welcome to the Nexus Star Wars Unlimited podcast. I hope everyone is doing well today. Today we are here to talk about the massive breakdown from Gencon this weekend. We had 3 tournaments which kind of helped shape the early meta for Set 2. I'm here with my buddies Krish, Ollie, and Emmy, and we are going to get straight into this, guys. So we have a lot of information to get through, so we're going to go straight to it. All right, so so we're going to start with day 1, and we have we have charts for you guys. Thanks to Krish here. Well, actually, yes. Credit where due. Where are the pie charts from?
Yes. Well, so I did make the pie charts, but the data is from Cody Cressman. Thank you very much, Cody.
Thank you, Cody,
for doing just amazing work for getting all the data from Gencon. As you can tell, I have a background in data science. That's why these look so pretty.
Wonderful.
Just click insert the graph. And he's like, I made the graph. Like, and crafted it.
Hey, I changed the colors.
All right. We're on a timer, guys. So let's have a look with this. So this was day 1 of Gencon, and this is X2 or better. So what roughly? How many players is that?
Yeah, so this was 7 rounds. So these are the players who went 5-2 or 6-1, and then I think there was 1-7-0 each day. I think this is about 30 or so.
Okay.
It varied day to day, I think a little bit, but it was around 30 players managed to go X2. So for those of you, just as a summary for the prizing, top 16 got the finalizer playmat, which is like the equivalent to, if I got it, it's the equivalent to this thing from UKGE. So it's like their
exclusive,
that's what you won, but a lot of people bubbled out, and we wanted to capture those here in the pie chart. So starting with day 1, I think just going around in representation, 40% Sabine. My God,
that's a lot. That's unexpected.
I think it's unexpected in terms of how much it was of the top cut. I think it really overperformed. Because I think in terms of what I was seeing on the hearing from what it was like there was a lot of Sabine, but there wasn't 40% of the tournament Sabine.
Yeah.
Is it best of 3, right? Sorry.
Yeah, it was best of 3.
It
wasn't best of 1. So it was best of 3, 7 rounds. So yeah, I believe it was all ECL Sabine. It was almost all ECL Sabine. Some of it was yellow Sabine. So that I have grouped them by leader here.
Maybe people just weren't warmed up. You know, they travelled in to get to Gen Con, and all the Sabine players were catching them off guard. You know, I don't.
Well, I think Sabine. I mean, Sabine Green is just an insane deck. It's really strong.
Yeah.
I think this is why I'm sure you all agree with me. When you sit down to build a deck for Set 2, the first question you ask yourself is, does this have game into Sabine Green? The second question you ask yourself is, does this have game into Boba Yellow? And if the answer to both those questions is no, you might want to start reevaluating the deck you're currently building.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially,
I've also heard that there was a lot of Palpatine Green on day 1, which obviously loses a lot to Sabine. So if there's a decent number of Sabine, that could,
I mean, with that being said, we still have 4% Palpatine in the X2s or better. So some people managed to dodge it. Looks like.
I got
filtered out.
I think it's both of those. I think there's a lot of people on Sabine. I think there's a lot of people on Control just getting eaten alive as well. And then I think it's also it's the first tournament of Set 2. I think it's fundamentally you just get wrecked.
Meta's going to be so open.
Isn't it's the
age going to experiment with anything.
It's the age-old thing, isn't it? With new metas in any game, that you're always going to see a lot of aggro whilst people are trying to figure things out.
Exactly.
Sabine is the queen of aggro, right?
Yeah, and you're seeing the older decks as well. Is the other big thing, right? We know these work. There's no need to experiment with stuff, and you can see this actually borne out in the pie chart. So if we go around, we can see there's Sabine. There's Boba from Set 1, Krennic from Set 1, Han from Set 1, Tarkin from Set 1, Bo-Katan, and Palpatine from Set 1.
Do you think it's safe to say that 4% is just one player, I guess?
I think it's probably one.
Yeah. That makes sense, yeah.
And so you can see the vast majority of this X2 or better was actually Set 1 leaders. There's 3 players we don't know. They're that question mark.
Probably Sabine.
Yeah, we're willing to bet, right? But if we can see the leaders that did manage to make a little bit of impact from the new set, we see one player who managed to make it through with Han 2, two players who made it through with Kira. We'll come back to that later, and we see one player on Bo-Katan. So this was the meta like day one. A lot of Sabine, good amount of Boba. Both of these were Boba yellow, I believe. And yeah, just overall like a very, very aggro. I mean, even Han mono yellow like is one of those weird things where it is a mid-range deck, but actually instead of the typical thing where mid-range beats aggro, Han tends to beat control and lose to aggro. So it was one of those things where if you look at and you add it all up, it's like, well, 2/3 of the field just absolutely smashes control. So it was a very bad day to be like a control player.
Yeah, absolutely. Han 2 having 3 in the top. I guess that would be Cunning Han. Han 1, sorry.
Yeah.
I mean, that doesn't have the worst matchup into aggro, but yeah, let's look into the top 2 of day 1. First off is the runner-up, and that is a mono yellow Boba. So Sabine didn't make second spot. Well, full disclosure, didn't make first spot either. Interestingly.
Yeah, well, so worth flagging that I think outside of first place, this is pretty arbitrary. It's just based on tiebreakers. But
yeah, because there's no top cut, right? It's just
there was no top cut, but there was another Sabine list that did well. So in selecting the, I basically selected the like adjusting for day and like highest placements and tried to
we tried to make some interesting choices. But yeah, do you want to talk about why you picked this list then, Krish?
Yeah, well, I think I suspect Ollie has probably immediately picked up on why I picked this one. This is because it is as this is leaned into as many set 2 cards as basically it could. And it looks like a really fun list. So this is firstly, let's comment on the elephant in the room. There is no surprise strike in this deck, which sounds absolutely insane, but makes sense in the context of what this deck is trying to do, which is what I'm doing is I am playing a Toro. I'm making my Toro really, really big, and I'm going to kill you with it. And that's basically what this is. It's that bounty hunter synergy. You're also playing the lurking tie, so you can blow people out in space if they're not prepared for that game plan. Lurking tie also gives you that further out to control, where once you get that lurking tie down, like they just have no real easy out to it. Some outs exist, but it's just a tougher card to deal with. This is maxing out on like the tempo stuff, right? We're playing Relentless Pursuit over Waylay because it's giving me a shield, and I don't really care if you get it back because I'm really trying to kill you as fast as I can. We're playing with Forlom Zucker's package here. We are just trying to ram your face in.
Yeah, I mean, I really like this because a lot of people think that when they sit down to double yellow Boba, it's a very like predetermined sort of matchup, and they kind of feel like they know what's coming. But with this list, it's very sort of different. Like you said, a lot of new cards. So people might have been playing around cards that he's not even playing.
Yeah, exactly. And I think like the and in fairness, like I think with set 1 that was true. Like KTOD basically, shout out to Bobby Sapphire, pretty much making the list. Right, like this is the mono yellow list we are just using, and the deck list didn't vary that much from it because it just works so well.
Yeah, I mean, incidentally, it's got all the usual suspects sort of in the sideboard there with the bouncer, Bodhi, Rook, and stuff. You know, that's cool.
Yeah, and I think like like you go into that sideboard and like it's just the Bodhi and for the control matchup makes their life a living hell. And the and for the mirror, having the lackeys is just crazy. Like there's so many 3/5s in the mirror. But there's literally like as many as 9 of them. Like you'll frequently see, and like lackeys just blows them out massively.
It's nice that you can kind of revert back to the set 1 version almost.
Exactly. Yeah.
You can, because people will be like, oh, I don't have to play around Bouncer or Bodhi Rook now, and then it'd be like, actually, yes, you do.
One card I would like to see here that I was playing against me recently is the Jetpack.
It's an interesting.
I think like you play both the Jetpack and the pistol, the Hotshot Blast. But the Jetpack it was really unexpected because you can smuggle it and
buffs the attack and the shield. Yeah, it's definitely a really, really good card. It's one I've been respecting, like just having smuggle more and more, because honestly, like the biggest thing is like sometimes in these tempo decks you have loads of resources and you just don't have you can't spend them all because you don't have the cards, and in those situations, like, oh, actually, I do have the smuggle card to play here just to get something out.
Ollie, what cards do you like in this deck? Because there's some pretty cool ones like that I haven't really seen you use, like Bounty Guild Initiate. What are your thoughts on that one cost?
I mean, I think it's pretty situational. Obviously, in this deck, it works in the deck because it's very focused on bounty hunters.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's probably working fine in this deck. And obviously, with the Boba Leader untapping, you have spare resource to play it out. What I'm really interested in is the inclusion of the bounty hunters crew to add back. It only adds back events, right?
Yeah, cunning basically.
So I assume it's mainly there to grab that cunning.
Absolutely.
I still think Surprise Strike is such a good card. It's worth including, especially if you are going to run the Bounty Hunters crew to potentially grab it back.
Yeah, I think personally, I'd probably just get rid of the Boba Fett's armor and 1 Relentless Pursuit and just jam 3 Surprise Strikes in here.
So
I'd also be interested to try out like a new adventure to use with obviously Fett's Fire.
I was about to say, like, couldn't you play a new adventure? You can like play a Bounty Hunter, Restent Toro, a new adventure, and then attack with Toro, then a new adventure.
Bounty Hunter crew as well with new adventure would be insane.
Bounty Hunter's crew with new adventure is like in theory an infinite combo.
Yeah, because you can pull back the new adventure and then do it again and again.
Yeah, as long as nothing on your opponent's board has more than 4 attack. So
as long as there's no interaction, it's probably okay.
In fairness, Boba Blue probably does do that combo.
In conclusion, guys, do we think that this is better than the sort of standard deck that people are using in double mono yellow, or is it just a different option that people weren't expecting?
It's a different option. It doesn't strike me as better. It doesn't strike me as worse.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the standard one is better personally, but not by a whole lot. I think the surprise factor of this is giving it a big edge.
Yeah, that's my thoughts as well. Definitely.
Worth saying, no one will have had deck lists for this. So.
Yeah, which is fantastic. Yeah. Thank goodness. Thank you, FFG, for reverting that rule. Let's go to the winner. So, I'm a bit smug about this one. In a previous podcast, I said that Double Yellow Han would be a meta choice, a top winning deck, and lo and behold, it wins the first big tournament. What do you think of
Not
this
only
deck?
that, it went undefeated first day, and then it went 6-1 the second day.
Absolutely, yeah.
Imagine
this was the player who played this was Troy Yamaguchi. It was the same player. Like, it's not the same deck, like the same player.
Exactly.
Day 1, 6-1 day 2. I don't know who this player is, but Troy is cracked and insanely good at this game.
He even has an intimidating name. Like, that is like sounds like an end
He's
boss.
a friend of Andrew Evans, friend of the channel. So maybe
sense.
We'll get him on.
Yeah, that'd be great. Get him on to get his thoughts on this deck and net deck the hell out of it. That'd be fantastic.
Well, Josh, you definitely played the most mono yellow Han, I think, out of all of us. So what do you think about this?
For sure, yeah. I mean, a lot of great choices. A lot of similar stuff to what I've got in mind, to be honest. But I think his is quite a lot more sort of controlling. Ezra, for me, I found I didn't really like it anymore. I know it's a really good card, but the 3/4 just made it a bit weaker. But maybe I'm just being silly with that. I really like the Cartel Turncoat. I'm too greedy where I don't want to give people draws, but I can definitely see how it's a really great card to use. And the LS37 as well as a card I also haven't really used, but I can see the value of that card. It's just getting a shielded 2/2 in feels pretty good. I know you can do it with Crafty Smuggler anyway, but yeah, it seems very cool.
There's one thing here that I have to flag as just presumably Troy did not know this card existed, but for some reason he's playing Waylay over Collect the Bounty, which is literally strictly better. Like, there is no situation where Collect the Bounty is worse.
Unless you have to bounce your own thing back to your hand. That is the only reason why.
Oh yeah, it has a limitation. It's only your enemy.
Yeah,
like
that's
okay. Yeah. I take it back then. There is a situation.
Yeah, that's why Waylay is better overall, and but it can be argued. But no, interesting to see a single jetpack. Emmy was saying that he likes that card.
Yeah.
The Gamoran guards as well is a quality addition that I overlook for sure. I just rely on tempo rather than actually blocking anything. But yeah, no, I mean, obviously, I think it's a very high skill ceiling sort of deck to play, and I think the better you are at the game and the more you know your matchups, I think you can just, the sky's the limit with this deck. It's very controlling.
One of the things I really like about it is we saw red get so much hand destruction, and this deck is so resilient to that, because you have like all the smuggle tools that you're just naturally playing. But then like you also have a card like Tech where like you hit late game and you just go, cool, I'm just gonna play out my whole resource row. Like,
yeah, I mean,
really
and the synergy of like using Hotshot Blaster and then top decking another smuggle card into your energy, it feels really good, and it seems to happen quite regularly as well. Like it's it's very fun, and I think the having the L337 is a great addition to the smuggle roster.
Better crafty smuggler, right?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, 100%.
I really like this list. I think it's really good.
Yeah, I think it's awesome, and
yeah, it looks solid.
It's very cool. It's very cool, and I can see. I would love to pick his brain on some of the little picks here and there, but yeah. So that he won day one undefeated, and like Emmy said, he went 6-1 on day two. I can't remember what.
I think he placed fourth. I have top four in my notes.
Yeah, so huge congratulations to Troy there. But we are going to crack on now. We are going to move forward to the day two chart.
So here, I think there was slightly more players who we have slightly more data on this chart than on the last one. I think it's one or two extras. And we can see a pretty big shift. So Sabine is down to 10.7%, which is probably like
everyone went back to the hotel rooms and started teching to anti-Sabine.
100%, right? Like, so we can see that there's a good number that we don't know. But looking through this chart, right, we got about 11% on Sabine, 7% on Han 1, 32% on set 1 Boba, and some of this was green, but the vast majority of it was yellow. 7% on Krennic, 7% on Kira. 3.6% on Han 2, 3.6% on Vader. It's just one on Vader, one on Han 2.
Yeah, we can safely say that's one, yeah.
One Bosk, one Kylo, one Hondo, which we will come back to.
That's broken.
And a Palpatine. So, again, I think this is highlighting a very, very diverse top 32. I think much more evenly spread across the meta. Still a lot of aggro, for sure, but like much more in the mid and late game, actually making it through and going X2 today. I think partially due to, I mean, the yellow Bobas just kind of eat Sabines by and large. Like don't get me wrong, it's not like,
yeah. How many people do you reckon went back and like, I'm playing Boba tomorrow? Screw playing control. I do not want to face Sabine 5 times. Good number. Yeah.
I think as well, like you know, you can imagine like it's pretty easy to like just drop one round early on in the tournament as an aggro deck, and if you did that in day one, you were probably in the soup with all the control decks, which is not where you want to be necessarily.
100%, yeah.
Or in like just like, I mean, it depends on the matchup for Boba Yellow, but you can imagine like actually you'd want to have been playing against all those Sabines and you kind of weren't getting them. But yeah, nice, really interesting.
It's nice to see Cad Bane, Bosk, Kylo, Hondo. A lot of the decks that people aren't really talking about, people braving it and playing it in these tournaments.
And going X2. Yeah, I think it's really cool to see like how diverse the meta is. And okay, maybe it warrants like looking a bit more into the list, because you know you might change the leader, but at the end of the day, maybe is a green-blue list or whatever. But in reality, like the fact that there's so many different leaders being played, it kind of shows like, you know, a healthy ecosystem of leaders, I think. Where
I think it promotes skill as well. It's seeming to promote skill of players and creativity.
Yeah, I mean, like Sabine, okay, I think like by definition, if you want to play aggro you play Sabine in this game. If you want to play a mid-range, right now the most established is Boba, so you just go for the easy pick. But there's a lot of people just following their preference, maybe on the character itself, and doing well.
I mean, I'm sure a lot of these players are seasoned tournament players as well, and they're probably thinking, look, I can play these weird decks and people won't know what's going on, so I'll have the edge, like, in that respect, so it's
that's definitely a factor, but I think like Ami was saying, like, I think fundamentally, like, when you have your like good fundamentals for this game, you learn a deck like really well, like you can just see success because of how like well balanced the format is. Like, yeah, obviously there's some luck in matchups. Like if you sit there and you just get bad matchups round after round after round, okay, it is what it is. But yeah, I think this is great to see. Like we all remember top 8 all Boba ECL from Twickenham, and this is not that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it really does show that you can kind of just play your favorite deck or favorite leader, and as long as you grind it, you can succeed. Obviously, we know Boba and Sabine are great decks, like that's pre-established, but you can still pull out results with any decks that you want, really.
As long as you work on your Sabine and Boba matchups, I guess. But let's look at some of these fun decks now we're talking about. Let's start off with Kylo, which made the top 16. Congratulations. Do we have the player name for that one?
This list is insane.
Yes, I do.
I've seen this list, and I'm definitely going to be giving it a go.
So this is Jacob Bohr. Congratulations. Jacob got top 16. And let's first off, anyone who has ever said that Jeddah City is bad, you are now eating your words, because we have found a place for it. And my God. So this deck is so low to the ground, it is crazy. Like,
it's outrageous, to be honest.
I mean, it's absolutely. I mean, also, can I just say, the spark of rebellions in the side is absolutely diabolical. That is so funny to me. But like a great choice, right? Like you need to fundamentally, like in particular into the control decks. If you just spark that vigilance, like you kind of just win, right?
Yeah,
and Bazine's there for a similar sort of reason as well.
You probably need to grab the barrages as well, because that looks pretty dangerous for this deck.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But you can see, right? Like this is just playing every cheap unit.
Yeah, I mean, there's not much to it, right? It's like just straight to face, play as many cards as you can.
Jeddah City, when I think you're going to make an attack that might actually do something.
Maybe that's to help save Kylo a bit as well.
Barrage. I think Jeddah is also just to stop barrage, because you go, okay, I take initiative going into 5 resources, Jeddah whatever you've got on board.
Yeah.
Your barrage is doing nothing now.
Yeah, I mean that.
And especially with the because I can see even there's a lot of 1-drops obviously, but there's also a lot of focus on the bounty hunters for Toro.
Yeah.
And that's going to be great with Kylo's ability, the +2 attackers for the turn. Yeah. So you have a 5/5 restanding every so often. Jeddah can also facilitate a favorable trade with the 5/5 if you just need to control the board for a turn or two.
Yeah. Well, looking at actually what we have here, it's entirely feasible that this deck could, like, on turn, on that 4 resource turn, you've got your Toro. You could like slap a blaster on him, like from hand, swing 5, play a Guild Initiate, restand, swing 5, play a Dengar, restand, swing 5, play a Greedo, restand, swing 5, deploy.
You can make it swing 7 with the
swing 7. Sorry, with Kylo ability, right? So you're dealing literally like 45 damage in 1 turn. Like the combos with this deck seem absolutely hilarious.
We need to look into this deck further and make some content on this. This looks like it could be fun.
Oh, I've already put it together, so don't worry. I will. I
cannot wait to get battered by it.
It's all right, brilliant.
It feels very Grand Inquisitor vibes to me, so I'm all for
100%.
it.
So talking of creative decks, we have in the top 8. Congratulations to Hondo. It was who was the player that won with Swan?
So this is George Hudson, George the Hulk, and I think a very special shout out has to go to George here. For those of you who aren't aware, George is basically the reason the set 1 meta changed halfway through the format. George invented Vader blue control. Like that's his idea. And he wasn't the one who won like the Orlando, whatever it was, 5K with it, but it was his idea. And this dude just sits here and he just cooks the most insane shit. And dude, top 8 with Hondo is so based, it's unreal. I think it shows that the foundation of that green, blue, black package is just there. And yes, depending on the deck you're playing, you need to change some cards around. But that foundation is so solid, and once you learn it, you can kind of just pick up whichever one of those leaders you really want, grab the corresponding 30 HP base, because we've seen now you don't even necessarily need ECL for those decks to be crazy. And just see remarkable success.
So call me crazy, but there doesn't seem to be like a mad amount of smuggle units in this deck.
Yeah.
How? I mean, I guess you're playing it with timely intervention and covert. What's the general strat for this? Just to just buff as much as you can, or?
I believe it is literally just very normal, like control deck stuff. I think you just play this like a control deck, and you have the upside when you start smuggling out your Long Pikes or your what's that, the Collector's Stormtrooper, whatever it's called, the 2-drop in the top right. Yeah, when you start like bringing those out, you do get to just sling an extra 1/1 around. Hondo doesn't have to go on the unit you play, so you can like put them wherever you think is like required. And it does matter for a few of them, like on the Vigilant Pursuit Craft, that being a 4/6 for 5, or Smuggles in for 6, I think, is actually really quite good. Or like First Light coming in with like a little bit of extra stats on it can matter. But by and large, I think this is literally like I'm just playing a really like good control deck.
Yeah, I think it's mainly going to be there for the covert strength and the timely intervention. Obviously, with timely intervention, it's crazy because it's an extra 1/1 on the card you're playing to ambush in. Or it can go somewhere else if you need it to. But I think in general, like you say, it's standard blue control with green. Timely intervention is obviously a lot better in the deck. Yeah. And then you also have like a little bit more late game value because you have these smugglers sat in your resource row for later on once you've got control of the board again.
I think one of the things that people don't necessarily appreciate about control decks is like a lot of the skill in playing them comes in. You literally need to be thinking like 4 or 5 turns ahead. Like I saw one game on stream where I can't remember who it was, but they put a top target on like a Kylo's tie on like resource 5, and it just sat there like for 3 turns, pummeling face, doing damage. He got to like 28 or 29, and then he goes Snoke, heal 6. And like it was literally like I'm setting up like that far in advance because I know I've got the Snoke in my hand. I need to establish the Snoke. I'm gonna heal up. It's fine. And like it was the most optimal use of the resources. And you're just sitting there like you have to see that line. You have to have played like into these decks long enough to know I'm gonna be fine. Because obviously objectively that's like, oh, that's all you're doing. You're not removing it. You're not like you're just slapping a top target on it. But yeah, I just love that George got top 8 with Honda.
In conclusion, do we think this is actually better than the usual suspects?
No chance.
Yeah. All right. Well, with that being said, we'll go on to the winner.
It's good. Like I'm not shitting on it, right? Like it's
of course,
good.
yeah.
But like I'm personally like let's talk about the winner, right?
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so. Kira, well, yeah, I mean, I may as well have just gone here. There's no point in concluding when we have a better green-blue, just the next deck. So, Kira is making waves in the meta as the new blue control deck. This seems like a pretty standard build. Some nice additions from set 2. I don't play control very much, so what do you guys think of this deck? What do you think of Kira in general?
Well, the first thing I need to do is I need to expose you.
Yeah, it's true. I said I don't think it's that good. It's true. And I was right about the first winner and wrong about the second one.
This was less than 12 hours before Kira goes 7-0.
It's
not even 12 hours.
It's fair.
I had to expose Josh. He took a W on predicting Han was top tier meta. I think it was a result of the player less so than the deck, but absolutely it's a good deck. I'm not going to dispute that. But he takes a fat L here. Kira's crazy, dude. This deck is so good. Shout outs to Wu. Real name is Ophir Marom, but you'll know him as Wu on YouTube. Congratulations. You can find Wu. It's the R2D2 noise. This deck is just so solid. Like it's just really, really solid. Really good deck.
Yeah.
It's good control. We could sit here and we can talk through like all the different card choices.
Yeah,
I just want to highlight one really cool combo, which is Gideon into Snoke to gain like 13 experiences. Happens way more than you would think. Like it's great. It's absolutely great.
That's crazy. Yeah, so that's about it for day 2, guys. But yeah, Kira is definitely a deck to look out for, and I do eat my words. It is a great deck. I just need to play against people who are really good with it, I guess.
Well, don't worry. Now I have a Kira showcase. I have no excuse not to learn it.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
He meant good players, Chris.
Yeah. Oh,
okay, Mr. X1.
On that note, we'll go to day 3.
So this one is another doozy of a chart. We see Sabine coming in force up to 23%. I think this is probably 5 players.
They went back from practice then to the hotel room.
Yeah, so eating some meta share from Boba. So I think the aggro percentage in the room not really changing very much. But Han 2 coming in with, I think, as many as, maybe 4 players, and Sabine might be 6. A good number of Han 2 players in the room, doing really, really well. We see more success for Kira.
Is the Han 2 blue? Do we know?
Han 2, I think this is primarily Han
primarily blue.
Also green. There was, I think, 1 or 2 greens as well. Han 1, Iden, Tarkin, Bosk, Palpatine, Hondo again. I think this is George Hudson again. I think he topped every day. He went X2 every day with.
Do you think it's the same Bosk player as well? Potentially.
Very possible. Yeah. I mean, Bosk is a really good deck. Like, and like when you're like, I mean, especially if you're not used to it, I've seen it like ramp like 3 in 1 turn, and then you just play a crate dragon, and your opponent's on 6 resources, and they're like,
I am enjoying this pattern we're seeing across all 3 of the tournaments, where there is a lot of singular sort of rogue choices getting into the tops. So it's very nice to see. Very nice to see the diversity. This was probably the most diverse chart of all of them, as far as having one predominant deck. So interesting to see.
I think one of the things that's worth highlighting as an explanation for why charts potentially look like this is when you're playing aggro, we've kind of determined that it's basically Sabine or Boba. There isn't really an aggro deck that competes on the same level as those two. Whereas when you move into the mid and into the late game decks, there's actually a lot more diversity in what you can play there. So even though like the game plan of the decks is actually not necessarily that different, though you do obviously play cards that synergize with leaders, right? Like Hondo, as Ollie was saying, they're like, oh well, you actually get to use all those smuggle tools that are like way better because you're getting the experience tokens. That you don't necessarily play those cards in, for example, Kira, but in Kira, but I get my Hylabon Enforcers a 3/2 with shield on turn 1, which is obviously crazy. So you have like these different like things that these decks do. And I think like the later the game the deck is, the more variety you get in what you're actually able to play. Especially when the fundamental card pool is like so good. Like blue villain is just nuts. Like it just has so many.
It's really interesting to see all these synergies being created with the leader effects. But yeah, what stands out for you here, Ollie, in the results that we've seen? What excites you about it, if anything?
I mean, I'm very excited to see the hand 2 with the blue shell, and I know there's multiple people who topped with a similar sort of list there. It's actually a deck that I was looking into playing for the London event that we just been to like the other weekend. So
go check out the deck profile.
True.
Number one.
But yeah, I'm very interested to see that. My conclusion was I ended up preferring playing Chirrut just because it had a lot more access to the Force synergy stuff.
You love Chirrut as well.
I do really enjoy Chirrut. Yeah, I'm a little bit biased there, but yeah, no, I'm super excited to see that that deck, and I think it is probably just a better version of Ray Red because I think Security Complex works better with hand skill, and I think hand skill is fundamentally just broken.
Well, asking you shall receive, my friend. Here is the Han Blue list, or one of the Han Blue lists that topped.
So yeah, this list is brutal, huh?
Yeah,
like
what do you
curve galore? Like you have
what do you
the
think
best
about
cards in the curve.
Because
sorry, I jumped in it because I was
absolutely.
I was watching a couple of videos of it, and I was like, do I have to migrate from green to blue? because I'm playing Hand 2 still.
You'll be playing everything soon, like everyone else. Don't worry.
I really do think the answer is yes, Emmy. Like it just has
it looks amazing. Yeah, the curve is perfect. Like you can play almost like amongst the best card in the game on curve, or the turn before, and you're just ready for everything. I like the Maze Window. Is that his name?
Yeah, Mace Windu,
yeah.
This card is so good.
It's pretty good. It would have been better if it said ready and attack and can attack.
Yeah, it would have been broken if it said ready and
Yeah.
attack. One thing I want to highlight very quickly is there's a lot of 2-ofs there. One interesting thing about Star Wars Unlimited is because you draw 2 a turn, the typical card game maths like that we've known for years from all these players who've been grinding like Magic or like Yu-Gi-Oh actually doesn't apply. Like the conventional wisdom is you play more copies of the card and you are more likely to see the card, and there is diminishing returns, but it's like not that significant. Actually, in Star Wars, if you play 1 copy of a card, I think your odds of seeing it are like 30 or 40%. So it's like pretty low. If you play 2 copies of a card, it's like 85, or it was like it was like 90. Like it was really really high. And then if you play 3 copies, it was only like 4 or 5% more. So actually, like your shot. So the 2-ofs here make perfect sense because you're actually getting by far the most bang from your buck for your odds of seeing it, balanced with, well, I want to play all these really really broken cards. I want to see every single one.
Absolutely.
Especially because they're later game cards as well, so you have that time to get to them. You'd never go for like 2-ofs of your 2-drops that you need to
We're factoring in like turn 6, 7, 8.
So some interesting choices in here. Carablast is from set 1. Not really a card we saw very much then.
What is that for, actually? Yeah, is it there for
do you guys got any ideas why they have that tech in? It's a friendly unit. A friendly unit deals damage to an enemy unit equal to the amount of damage on the friendly unit +1. So it's basically like I don't know.
So you can always do like 3 damage.
You always deal 3 damage with it,
yeah.
And it costs how much? 2?
It costs 2.
It's a 2.
I feel like it's kind of like it's slightly worse damage wise than Open Fire, but it's on curve for the kind of stats you have on 2-drops.
Yeah.
I think one of the things that's worth saying is like as a turn 1 play,
you can literally
out R2 and then just kill whatever you play, right?
That is true. Yeah.
I don't know if that's necessarily like the actual reason it's played.
Yeah, but
I mean that's a very strong combination regardless.
Sabine, you just shut it down, right? Even if you can start, they choose any lane, and then you just for sure.
All right, so we are running out of time quickly here, so we are going to just check a Sabine list. Talking of Sabine, here is a Sabine command list. Krish, why did you pick this one out? Or was this just the new convention?
This was top 8. This was top 8. I just wanted to highlight that it plays timely, which is just an absolutely insane card. But this is like this is not my favorite Sabine list. It only plays 2 Oracles, which I find absolutely insane. It only plays 2 Rebel Assault, which I also find absolutely insane. But whatever, right? Like it's fundamentally this is what the deck does. You curve out with lots of really powerful aggro. You're playing the new tools. You're playing your Cassian. You're playing your Poe. You're playing your Darksaber. You're playing your Wrecker. You get all your bullshit. This is also playing Timely and Daring Right. A couple of like nice, cool new cards. Ketsu Onyo, very relevant for the mirror match. Defeating a Darksaber is disgusting. Just a good.
Do we think that Sabine is the top of the class, like other channels like Swoop Racers? Shout out to you guys, and other channels have said. Do we think Sabine's top of the boogeyman now?
I think so. I don't think it ever left. I think like the fundamental truth of Sabine Green is that like you just have to be prepared for it, and you're either cool with that's my matchup, I lose, or you can beat it. Like there's no you have to,
just to confirm as well before we finish with the third day, it was won by Boba Yellow. Is that correct?
I believe so. Yes.
Yeah, mono yellow Boba.
One correction, sorry, is in my mind. Ketsu Onyo cannot destroy the blade because it's only a cost 2 or lower.
Oh yes, 2 or lower. Sorry.
Yeah, but it's still really really good.
I was thinking of experience token.
Very nice card.
All right. right, so that is our roundup of Gencon, friends. Thank you very much for checking our videos out. Thanks to all the new subscribers. We will be back soon with some more content, and we really appreciate you all coming and checking us out. So yeah, catch you later, guys.
See ya.